You never seen a woman with a sonic screwdriver before?
Greetings and welcome, fellow explorers. Today we're going to be looking at the VR puzzle walking simulator called Torn. Just to let you know that this review will be split into two parts, a spoiler-free section and a spoiler zone, which I'll announce in big spoiler titles and have this spoiler overlay, just so that none of you accidentally walk in there unawares. And in this review I'll be going over the graphics, story, puzzle elements, gameplay and control. Now, first up is the graphics. This is a walking simulator, and by its very nature and from my experience, all walking simulators try their absolute best to be the top notch in making beautiful and wondrous surroundings to walk through, and Torn is no exceptions. Starting outside in the woodlands, I really did feel as if it was a Skyrim experience, and so much so that I even kept trying to pick flowers to make potions. But moving on inside, you do get a sense of creepiness as you traverse the neglected corridors before entering the main building, which is full of wonderful paraphernalia that you can pick up and look at. Again, this is another title that weighs very heavily on the realistic side of the uncanny valley and looks good doing it. However, even though the world was full of wonderful goodies for you to look at and play with, the world is felt kind of empty. Like all the objects around you were just hollow cutouts. It wouldn't matter if I picked up a book and threw it across the room, or if I picked up a piano. Everything always acts exactly the same. One item stretched or shrank to fit all. I know that some people will say that's the point of the gravity gun tool, it being designed to nullify mass and all that, but if I were to drop a wooden wardrobe from the second floor balcony onto the floor below, I would expect something other than just a flump, like someone taking a planky selfie. Everything is just like shiny baubles that you can't do anything with. Can't open a book or play the mini gramophone. I don't know, maybe it's just me as a programmer that would notice something like this and is just a little bit picky, whilst probably for everyone else it's perfectly fine. But let me know in the comments of what you think about this. A walking simulator wouldn't be a good game if there was no story to it, and this is a very good game. You're involved right from the start when you discover the mansion, to seeking out the inner depths, to finding the audio tapes with exposition, discovery, details in your surrounding, all have their part in adding to the rich story and answering the age-old question of what the heck is going on here. The puzzles in here really are quite simple. Most of it is just a matter of putting the right pegs in the right hole, and I'm sure there are similar types of puzzles out there involving a little wooden mallet that we give our 2-year-old kids to work out. Yes, put the round brick that fits into the round hole, the triangle goes into that hole, the star and the transistor circuit goes into the representative symbol slots. Good person of unidentified gender. Good person of unidentified gender. Sorry, just a little bit of sarcasm there. Although even due to the simplicity of the puzzles, you do actually get a sense of achievement, as it's not as easy as it sounds. Trying to find the hidden circuits with your spectral vision, torch, is something that you will need a sharp eye for. and also remembering where all the bits and pieces are when you've scattered them all over the room will definitely challenge your memory. Like I said, the puzzles are simple, but it's a good simple. They're good enough to challenge you, but not so taxing that you'll be stuck on one so much that you just cannot progress any further. Well, the radio telescope on the 5th floor can be a bit vexing as it misleads you into thinking you've completed it, but you haven't. However, I'll talk about that later. The gameplay here is quite simple. You move from one location to another and solve puzzles. As you solve the puzzles, the story opens up to you. You have the freedom to move to go to wherever you please in the building and to which puzzle you wish to do next. However, there is not much more to do than that. There is very little interactivity with the items around the house. Yes, there are a lot of pretty things that you can pick up and look at, but unless it's part of a puzzle that you're working on, that the extent of what you can do is very limited. I mean, you can't even open a book to read it, you can't tickle the ivories on your piano, or even play the mini gramophone that is about the same size as your hand. This game is very linear and doesn't expect too much from you, except to complete the puzzles and enjoy the story as it unfolds. And lastly, we have the controllers. With this game you can only use the Move controllers. No dual stick or aim controller, it has to be the Move controllers. Also, when calibrating there is no quick focus to eye level, so holding down the option button won't refocus your head to eye level. So, if you decide to sit down but have calibrated while standing up, you will need to stand back up to get to proper eye level again. As for the movement, there is no smooth rotation controllers, which I always find is a bit of a negative for me, but there is a 30, 45 and 90 degree turning option. The teleporting option here in the game is extremely short and can be very frustrating, but thankfully you can set it to walk. The Move walking controllers were a bit tricky to get to grips with at first, but as I got on into the game, I kind of got used to them quick enough. Overall, this is a walking puzzle simulator to the core. Whilst it doesn't offer much in the way of action or substance, it does offer a very enticing story, filled with mystery, intrigue, plot twists and turns as you delve deeper into the mansion and discover its hidden depths, only to find what you think you know can be all thrown into question. I am going to give this game a 7 out of 10. I was only going to give it a 6 out of 10 because of the total lack of substance in it, to the things around that you work with, but the story of the game, however, is played out really top notch and is done really well. The interactivity with the characters and the way it builds everything up, I think is done perfectly. And this game is one that I do recommend in getting. That's it for the Torn review. I hope you've enjoyed watching this as much as I have been making this. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys out there. Warning! Incoming spoilers. Turn off if you do not want to hear any spoilers. Major spoilers incoming in 3, 2, 1. Everything you know and interact with in the game is a lie. It's all in your head. At the end of the game, it turns out that you have been in a medically induced coma, so the police can find out about the crimes you have committed by monitoring your subconscious dreams. With this in mind, I can see how a lot of things start coming into focus, and that I haven't been playing the game at all. The game has actually been playing me. I saw so many things here that reminded me of other things, other pop culture reference, that in the mindscape of a modern day geek like myself would be totally part of my psyche. Remember at the start how I said that I felt like I was playing Skyrim? Or the running joke about how the gravity tool looks like the sonic screwdriver. The game even gives you a sonic screwdriver to interact with the world, and it all makes total sense in the mind of an unconscious geek, comatose geek. Even other things start to make sense too. You know that bit I complained about at the graphics section, where the world seems hollow and empty, you can't open boxes or even read a book, just like in a real dream. Have you ever tried to open a book in a dream and try to read it? In a dream, you play out a fantasy in front of you. You seldom recognise the details around you. So what do you think? Poor programming? Or another level of a total mind they're blowing you away with? Come to think of it, the drawings of the building itself look like a person within the basement of being your legs, the satellite dish your head. Heck, I even saw something in the nth dimension that looked just like the central control console of the Doctor's TARDIS. Well, here, as we now know, it's all in your head, and that your subconscious mind is manifesting things that you recognize to help create this deep story of your psychological mind as it is being unlocked. Let's think of a character you play as a geek or a nerd, someone who is a fan of sci-fi and fantasy, someone who plays video games, someone very much like someone who's playing the game or even watching this review right now. Then all the inconsistencies and feelings make sense as a representation of your own psychology, of your own mind, the sense of an open world game that is Skyrim, and the discovery, finding the abandoned building that becomes a psychological manifestation of your own physical being. You are then challenged with obstacles and puzzles which you need to overcome. This is when you get the sonic screwdriver, an item that the Doctor uses to interact with the world around him and to overcome the problems that he faces and fix the puzzles that he is presented with. And then there's the final bit where you have to keep removing and re-adding the cables to this central dome-like object in the centre of the room, or area as I should say. I kept thinking of that dome as my own head, and the cables were electrodes probing my mind. In essence, sort of reminded me of that headrest that I was asked to put on at the beginning after completing my very first puzzle. There is very much the way of symbolism going on in here, all the way of thinking and the mind. I wonder if it's all possible to find them all. Last thing I want to say was about the radio telescope. Of all the rooms, to me, this one seemed the strangest. It felt like I was tuning in my head to hear things just outside my own body. It was odd using a radio telescope that finds signals from the great beyond. I would hear voices as if I was just talking to someone in the same room, or maybe even just listening to my own thoughts or someone else's. Some people also found this floor was a little bit tricky, just the same as I did as well when I went through this. I just could not figure out what that last bit was that was needed to open the lift. I mean, it looked like I'd gotten everything done, but there was just that tiny little bit left on the last puzzle that I just could not complete. but I did manage to figure it out, that even though I could hear the signal on the telescope clearly, it was not a strong signal. When moving the handles, you can see the signal expand and shrink on the screen. However, if you look carefully at the signal, the top and bottom edges, you see a grey area meets a black area for both the top and bottom signal. What you need to do to make this signal work, you need to make the signal so strong that the grey areas from the top signal and the bottom signal actually overlap each other. When you've done this, and it works properly, you will then get a message to continue and work fine. Okay, so that is it for our spoiler section. And again, thanks very much for watching, and this will be the end this time. I did want to make people think that there wasn't a section after, which is why I put the end credits on halfway through the video, so that people didn't accidentally run over into this and get spoiled, because that's spoilers. But as I said, I do appreciate you guys watching these, and I hope that you've enjoyed watching this as much as I have enjoyed creating this. Please, again, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you guys out there.